Good evening, friends, and we have had some very inspiring talks, and I'll be talking on citizen participation and governance. So to begin with, India is a India is the greatest democracy in this world. We all know that. India is the most young and vibrant democracy. India is all set to become a superpower along with China in a short time. Now with all these superlatives, you might just think that everything is hunky-dory. Ideally, yes. We Indians should have sat back and enjoyed the progress, the growth, and the prosperity of our nation. So why is it that most of us can't do that? Especially if you are a common man, and there are millions of them in this country of this type. That's because corruption has invaded into every field. While the Commonwealth Games is the latest one in the international market and in the international scenario, politicians have deprived us Indians of the basic civic amenities, the public conveniences, which is our right, and has deprived the poor of their right to food as government schemes don't reach them. It has deprived them of good sanitation and a good environment. So thus, as we know, India is pathetically placed 83rd in the corruption perception list thanks to Transparency International, which has rated it as 3.5 over 10 in the score level. So now, why is it that this situation is arising? And that is what I want to talk about, and the reasons are many. But some of the pertinent points are that we, the educated Indians, have clearly slept through our democracy. We, the Indians, do not even want to go and cast a vote. We, the Indians, are ensconced in our own world, as Mr. Narayanmurthy said, wherein only the family is our world, and we couldn't care less what happens to the society, to the neighborhood, to the nation. We, the educated Indians, are hardly aware that we have risen, our country has risen from an elective democracy to a participative one. Through several amendments, through several laws, the decentralization of power has gone up to the grassroots level. The empowerment has gone to the man at the last end. But most of us do not even bother to know about it. And those of us who know, still, we couldn't care less because we want somebody else should pick up the cudgels while we hibernate at home. And this is one of the main reasons why our politicians have taken advantage and why our bureaucrats do what they feel like doing. So let us have some examples on how we have been at the receiving end and how we have quietly borne it, not because it is poor us, but because we do not want to be proactive. Let's take the case of potholes that number the roads, and the amount, there's so many youngsters here, the amount of precious limbs and lives that are lost every day. But we just mumble and continue with our lives. What about the 26/11 Mumbai terror attack, which was the most dastardly, but up till now, not a politician or police officials who were responsible for the negligence have been brought to book. Instead, they have come back to power, and the police officers concerned have got promotions. There are so many cases that we can identify in which you have your best friend who's molested in daylight or in the darkness of the night because there are no street lights. We just mumble and we carry on. We just do not want to do anything. So what is the answer? The common answer for everybody is just maybe have, sorry to say, such talks in the ivory towers or gossip or just saying that we are so helpless and if the politicians are corrupt, the government babus take bribes, so we just cannot do anything. Is that the answer? Very hopefully and positively, it is a big no. In fact, it has been realized time and again that wherever citizens have together come up and to your state and to your nation. Could you just have that? This is one slide. This is the abandoned plant of the mighty Dow Chemicals, a multinational which invaded Pune. Now, I'm not against MNCs. I'm not saying that MNCs should not enter our country. But the fact is that because of lack of transparency, because of not providing information to the grassroots level people, there was an air of suspicion. The Dow Chemicals plant in 2008 advertised in all newspapers saying that it is a purely research and development center. It is going to enhance the social environment. It is not into manufacture at all, and that it is going to give employment to 650 scientists. So when the news came that Dow is coming to Pune, some of the activists and people came to me and said that you need to write something about in your newspaper because after all, they are connected to the Bhopal tragedy. By the way, that Union Carbide is a subsidiary of Dow. So I said that yes, that's right morally, but as a journalist, I need to find out as to what they are going to do right here. When I rang up the MPCT chief, the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board chief, saying that I would like to see documents between the Dow and state government, he said, I'm sorry, I have no information, and you may use right to information if you like. And so I did inspection of files under the Section 4 of the RTI Act, and I found that this plant was given permission for manufacture. It has stated that it would use more than 70 chemicals, out of which 24 were hazardous under the Schedule 1 of the EPA Act. It had already cut down 14,800 trees, and it talked about social environment. It had flouted the Maharashtra river regulation policy because no chemical plant is allowed 2 kilometers within any important river, and Indrayani was running past it. There were several such violations, and then as the file noting stated that the 100 acres land in Shinde Vasuli in Chakan should be given clear permission within 48 hours when the state government otherwise grills chemical factories for more than 10 months before they give permission. So when I found out all this, I decided not to restrict it to my Intelligent Pune, and I held a press conference and the word went round. I educated the villagers on what points they should now fight, because probably they would be getting something which is environmentally hazardous to their village. So then they picked up the agitation. In this case, I just want to tell you that I as a journalist would not take the credit of Dow Chemicals having walked away from Pune district just last fortnight, but I played the role of a catalyst. When the villagers got access to this information, they held statewide agitation in War of Independence. And now that the legislature and the executive has completely strangulated the common man, is busy looting our money and putting it in the Swiss banks, it is high time that we just have to come out on the road. So these are many other examples which Mr. Vijay Kumar would give in his talk, but suffice to say that your actions count. So now let's come to the fact as to how would you do it? Is it that you are angry over an issue and you just walk out on the road and start shouting? No, that's not the way to do it. You should be angry, but your passion to improve things should be after proper information. And therefore, I just wanted to show that slide the earlier one. Is that this is a government office. It is a town planning department. And when the Hills issue came up, at that time the state government sent back the files with so many changes. The department refused to give citizens the information of seeing the files, although it is allowed under Section 4 of the RTI Act. So Mr. Vijay Kumar, Mr. Chameli Devi Jain and myself, we went and we got all the files, including the map, and put it on the website so that the information would reach citizens at large. So this is just to tell you that Section 4 is very powerful. You can also just go like this, enter the government office and do file inspection. So now what I want to say is that, so how would you participate? And what would really inspire you to participate? First is that you need to have information. information very easy is that, like I said, you can inspect files, and secondly, it's become very easy for journalists to amplify the message by procuring this document and then telling the reader what it actually is. Now, once you have this information, you can make, which is genuine, then you can make an informed decision. A decision that you know the issue thoroughly. So how can you now act? Because now it is not important just to know about the issue, just to have knowledge of what is going wrong around us, but we need to be 1 plus 1 plus 1 and in hundreds and thousands. A simple example to give you is that the collector told me that the voters list, you know, the educated youngsters or anybody who do not have their names in the voters list, you know, they come during lunchtime to the collector's office and just say, you know, I just have half an hour, 45 minutes, and then, you know, go abusing everybody and walk out of the office. Whereas the people from slums or the lower end, they come in batches of 35, 40, and they are ready to spend hours to have their names registered in the voters list. In fact, when I last general elections, when I sat in the rickshaw, I asked the rickshawala whether he had voted. And can you believe it? He had spent his own money to go by a ST bus to his hometown, vote, and come back and in the evening earn his bread and butter. Whereas many people, educated people, went for a holiday to Maharashtra. So that's the basic difference of why we have that governance, because we deserve it. So once you have access to information, it is an action wherein there are many citizen groups who are following certain issues, so you know, you could join them. Now coming back to the whole thing is that sometimes you might get information under the RTI Act, but even then, you know, it really doesn't help because the decisions are already made. For example, there's a huge infrastructural project and you get information on how much money has been spent, but if it's too late by then, you just have to sigh and keep quiet. And therefore, the government has now come up with what is called as the Area Sabhas bill. And this is especially for cities, you know, which are under the what is called as the JNN URM funds, special funds for the development of the city, wherein the center and the state government give 70% of the funds and the remaining 30% has to be given by the municipal corporation. So in these Area Sabhas, you actually decide what you want for your neighborhood. Suppose the Pune Municipal Corporation might just have a blanket proposal saying that all the street lights need to be changed. But in an Area Sabha, when the councillor, that is the corporator, the ward officer, the municipal officer, and the people of their neighborhood sit together and discuss as to which issue is more important, then it has been seen that not only there is a cut in the expenditure for that ward, but sensible expenditure has happened. Like it has happened in Delhi, wherein Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, he has spearheaded this entire Area Sabha concept. And in about 3 to 4 localities, the corporator has found that he is actually having his vote bank right in front of him, interfacing with him. The ward officer has found that the citizens know better what they want for their ward as they have their ears to the ground. In Pune, we have, in fact, Dr. Anupam Saraf himself, who is steering a very interesting Area Sabha campaign. You know, the Nala behind his housing society, you know, has been nurtured by them through tree plantations and through natural bunding, and because of which there has been a lot of percolation of groundwater and their wells have got good water in it. However, the PMC has made a blanket decision that all nalas need to be cemented and sent to the pipeline. Now, when it came to Bane, where he stays, they all protested. They held an Area Sabha. They called the municipal corporation officer and explained that by concretizing the nala, they are actually killing the entire population of groundwater and various other issues. Now the municipal commissioner has accepted that no, they have a point, and so that project has been stalled. Now this is something very important for our city, because we've seen how our nalas have been flooded, how our neighborhoods have been flooded, and one of the main reasons is because the nalas have been choked either by cementing or by garbage. not to really maybe aim to become the Prime Minister of India or even not a minister, but in your own neighborhood, if you can improve your life, it is going to help generations to come so that your children and grandchildren would like to live in this city or in this state and in this nation and not just try to migrate to other countries where governance is very good and they find they do not have any problems commuting or even needing electricity or whether it is power supply, water, etc., etc. And that's what we need to get back to our nation. The confidence to live here with efficient public and civic amenities around us through the government schemes which are rightfully ours but which are not being followed up or being done by the government authorities. I think if each one of us just takes one issue per year, not even too many issues, just one issue per year, I think this nation will become a better place to live in. Thank you so much.